Can you guys hear my mic if it's here? Yeah, okay. I have a new mic. I figured what a good time
Hey, the
to
voice you're
introduce a
hearing
new
there
mic.
is Linsey Fagan. Linsey is going to be our guest here in a second. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. It is the 16th of August, the dog days of August, some people would say. In some parts of the country, back to school. Where I live here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they're not going back to school yet. We're a Labor Day kind of crowd for back to school. But you know, it's already starting for some people. They're getting back into it. But happy August 16th, everybody. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Politics Day, because it's Tuesday. You know why? Because Tuesdays are the days we vote in this country. Well, unless you vote early, or you vote absentee, or you
live in Tennessee.
Truly in Tennessee, they
Yeah,
vote They don't vote on Tuesdays in Tennessee.
They have their primaries are on a Thursday.
Huh.
Weird.
That just seems fantastic. What are they doing? There's probably a good solid history to why it's Tuesdays when we typically have our elections. I don't know why. Probably had to do with horses. I'm guessing it had something to do with the Sabbath on Sunday, how long it took a horse to travel. Like, it's always the kind of stuff that you find out, right? That's what's really up. All right. Well, hey, I'm Doug Pagitt in Minneapolis. We like to chat about the weather. We win in the summer in Minnesota. I know, from November through May, it's difficult. But boy, June through September, October, we're winning. Robb, somewhere outside of Fayetteville, Arkansas, how are things there?
Doug, I was on vacation last week. Did anything happen this week?
Well, we have a lot to talk about.
Did I miss anything?
We have a lot to talk about. Not only the candidacy of the one Linsey Fagan running for county clerk in Texas, but the former president now is going to go to jail. So
yeah. So weather here in Arkansas is still hot on the second day of school. My youngest started second grade yesterday. Which was a fun thing. It does feel weird, to start before Labor Day, but it is what it is. At this point in the summer, she's bored with everything anyways, might as well go back to school. Very excited to learn that several of her friends from our neighborhood are in her class, and she said that her teacher is nice even when she's mean. And I said she was mean on the first day of school. Seems a little early for that, but it's good. It's hot.
You just wait till late October. She is just going to be a rage.
Seriously.
Teacher.
Yeah, but it's hot here in Arkansas, like it is. But
in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or if you're not over on YouTube, that's really where you should go, or on Twitch or on Twitter. Let us know where you are, what the weather is, and if school has started yet. And if you're like me and like you don't have grandkids that are fully in the school form yet, or you don't have your own children in school, or for whatever reason you don't have children in school, forget totally that school is a thing. I used to think a lot about school. Don't think about it much anymore. But go ahead and put that in the chat. And we are joined by Linsey Fagan. Linsey is running for the county clerk. I mean, a position that people often don't even know, Linsey, is a position in the world. I feel like the last time I heard about a county clerk was like in Florida in 2001 presidential election. I don't even know if that Marcia woman was a county clerk or whatever it was, but congratulations on running, and thank you for running, because even though a lot of us don't know what county clerks do, they matter a lot, and they make a big difference. So hello and welcome. Hello. And how's the weather outside of the Fort Worth area?
It is miserable. It feels like a big oven outside. So it's been pretty rough. I have two little ones and a 16-year-old. And my 2-year-old needs to be outside. She belongs outside. And so having her inside all summer, because it's been 100 plus every day, has been there's Sharpie on a lot of things in this house.
That's great.
Hey,
okay, Linsey, tell us about it. You've been talking to people because you're running for county clerk. What does the county clerk do?
So basically, a big overview of what the county clerk does is oversee all of the documents for a county. So marriage, licenses, divorce, we manage divorce, property. Basically, you're like a steward of records.
Hmm.
Manage there's departments underneath you. So I think for me, I've heard for our county specifically, the working conditions for the people within the county clerk and the district clerk office, the working conditions are very poor. They've had a
Hmm.
lot of overturn or turnover. And so for me, it's about going in and making sure that, the office is, the employees are happy. They're going to know a lot more about the process for everything than I do because, like I said, it's a very big, broad office
Mm-hmm.
that manages a lot of information. And so, yeah, I wasn't going to run this cycle, but after the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and he was acquitted, it was towards the end of my pregnancy with my youngest son. I just got infuriated that there wasn't more activity within the Democratic Party in my area and not enough energy. And so I asked my county chair, there's a lot of open positions, which one would I best, be able to serve in? And nobody was running for the county clerk position. And so here I am. And now this is a district that Beto and Biden both won. So, it's definitely a very winnable seat. And, it's a wild time to run as a woman. In Texas, we just lost a lot of our rights. And yeah, so it's a wild time to be alive down here and running for office with a tiny baby and a 2-year-old and a
Yeah.
teenager.
Wow.
Now, I know it was
Linsey,
just a slip of the tongue when you said there's been a lot of overturn. Does the county clerk's office have anything to do with elections or protecting the sanctity of elections or
Yo,
not
yeah.
allowing overturns to happen in the midst of all the
Absolutely.
employee
It's
turnover?
the county clerk is the like elections official for the county. So uh, it's an important position if we're trying to save democracy as well. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, and I think for Rob as well, a lot of us that ran and were endorsed by brand new Congress, we believe in, democracy first and foremost, and also, then getting dark money out of politics. But we believe deeply in protecting democracy, which I think, a lot of people need to be weary of right
Yeah.
now with
Yeah.
everything that's going on.
yeah, Linsey, you ran for Congress in 2018, and compare and contrast that experience with this experience because I mean, as a first-time candidate, I mean, I always felt like when I was running that I was making it up as I went along, like putting the train together as we were going down the tracks, just no idea what I was doing at all. Um, and I feel now like if I were to run for something again, I'd be like, oh, I could totally win this time because now I know what I didn't know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's different, but then also the scale is different, right? Running for a federal office of Congress versus running for a county office. So like compare and contrast, like how's it been similar? How's it been different? Are you doing things differently this time? I'm just curious about all that.
Yeah, like you said, the first time I feel like I spent probably 6 months or a year, like learning which staff members I need, where money needs to be spent. So now I can run a campaign very, very effectively with a small amount of money,
Hmm.
where before, we were paying for advice from a consultant telling us about mail pieces, and now I know how to do things very lean, which comes in really handy in a county clerk race because you know county clerk races aren't very sexy and people aren't you
Mm-hmm.
know looking for their local who's running for county clerk. So we've had to be really creative with fundraising. A lot of our funding actually comes from merchandise sales. I don't know if you've seen any of our
Yeah,
really inappropriate
we're gonna
merchandise.
talk about that. Yeah, let's
Okay.
let's set that aside for just a second because we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, so it's different. But I thought I would be I thought I would avoid a lot of the what I would consider like the wild Republican activists coming after you like you do in Congress. You avoid it a little bit more, but I feel like these days, if you just say you're a Democrat, they're going to find you.
Yeah. So I mean, talk about that. Like, what running for office in this environment? I know you have had like some pretty crazy experiences with people online, and you're one of those people that, and everybody needs to be following. Is it Linsey for Texas or Linsey Fagan for Texas on Facebook? I
Yeah,
don't
Lindsay Fagan for
type.
Texas
Yeah,
on Facebook.
yeah. You need to be following Linsey on Facebook because it is a roller coaster of a ride that is amazing. See, I mean, you'll get crazy messages from people, and I mean, you post them.
Oh
You
yeah.
don't shy away from it. You out these folks. So, like, what's it like running in this particular political environment where it's not politics as usual?
I would say I think the thing last cycle, especially that was different than this cycle, a lot of the craziness I, absorbed and I dealt with silently. And Rob, you know a lot about,
Hmm.
kind of going through the process of running for office and it's very stressful. It's very it can be just incredibly strange like on your with your emotions because you're constantly attacked. So your body is naturally fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight, like no matter how hard you
Hmm.
try. And so this time, instead of, suffering in silence
Hmm.
with the crazy, crazy messages I get and the just the nasty things people say, yeah, I just started to out the people that are saying, not the people that are saying, just the normal democratic things that, you're a demon rat or whatever the hell they say.
Just the normal things
Not
that people
those
say when
people.
you're
Those
called a demon.
people,
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah.
No, I mean, not
Demon
that.
rat who kills babies. Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God.
yeah,
The
yeah.
things. But whenever people really come at me in nasty ways, I think making it clear to people like a what candidates deal with, and I think now that I out people, I have so much less of the like vitriol, like the
Oh,
crazy people attacking me because they know if they come for me, like I'll come back
Yeah.
for
hmm.
them.
You're gonna make a T-shirt out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. And, so yeah, it's very interesting to see, like, my community and my, supporter friends, they've, like, scared off the
Huh.
trolls that I used to have. And so, I don't know, it's just, like, really amazing, and I just
Yeah.
never would have thought, like, "Oh, instead of suffering in silence with all of this, um, all of these things that people say and death threats and people last
Yeah.
cycle somebody threatened to kidnap my daughter, and instead of now dealing with those things privately and just kind of holding them all in, it's so
Mhm.
much nicer to speak openly about it because
Mhm.
people want transparency and vulnerability with candidates. I think Donald Trump made it clear that people want authenticity, if you will.
Mhm.
I don't think he's authentic as much as he's excellent at manipulation, but I think there was something to be learned with the type of candidate he was,
Yeah.
where he
Mhm.
didn't have a filter. And so I'm like the complete other side of that, where I don't have a filter, but I do it in a
Mhm.
kind, vulnerable way, unless
Yeah.
you come from me, and then
Yeah.
Oh
it's
boy.
not kind.
Then Mama Bear. Yeah, you know that old saying, authenticity is key. Once you can fake that, you've really got it made. So that's the thing that Donald Trump has learned is just figure out what the thing is that you need to fake. Hey, what's the political temperature feeling like in your part of Texas? For a lot of us, Texas really matters. We feel like Greg Abbott is iconic nationally. He's playing a role. I think he's agitating disunity in our country, and he says lots of things especially about people who are seeking to come into our country, future citizens and future participants that are untrue and lies and all the rest. And they just make decisions in Texas about laws and even the way the power grid is run that feels like some political change should be in the air. Is it? Do you feel like in your part of Texas, because your part of Texas is really important to any success that Beto O'Rourke would have in running for governor, and maybe just sort of the spirit and the mood across Texas as a whole?
Yeah, whenever I decided to run, one of the reasons was it was I want to say it was before Beto, and now no, it was probably after Beto. But just wasn't as much momentum as there was whenever I ran
Mhm.
for Congress. I ran after Donald Trump won in 2018, so obviously
Yeah.
the amount of momentum we had here, it was insanity. And this cycle, I was just as angry about everything going on in the country, and still nothing has changed. And I guess I was just so disappointed in, how, there was no momentum on the Democratic side, really,
Yeah.
or the Republican side. And now with Beto, if you can watch that man live, you have never seen anything like it. I mean, I'm a political like speech junkie. I really, really like JFK, RFK. He has the same vibe. Like, he is brilliant. You hit him with any question, he answers flawlessly. Like, he is lovable. Republicans don't mind him.
Hmm.
It's really a matter of how many people can he get in front of, because if if Republicans won't actually listen to him, it's just they hear the same talking points of he's going to take my AR-15.
Mhm.
So he's if you really listen to him talk about guns, he's really not radical when it comes to protecting or getting rid of the Second Amendment. Like, he's very, very reasonable because he knows where he's running.
Mhm.
But I do feel like, people are really fired up for him, and he has an amazing organization. Like, he
Mm.
runs his campaigns just flawlessly. He he is effective,
Mm.
and I think he would be a very, very, very effective leader. He remembers everything. Like, he remembers people, he remembers their stories. He's just a wonderfully empathetic man, and I think a lot of people are ready to have something different
Mm.
than
Yeah.
Greg Abbott.
Well,
Yeah.
and as
Oh.
is evidence in these comments, people who live in Texas, as I used to, boy, they love Texas. I mean, I know that's sort of just a slogan, right? Like, don't mess with Texas and all that.
Yeah.
But boy, people really take their Texas seriously. And I understand there's different parts of Texas, and the people who live in different parts, once you get into the state, they start reminding you that they're from Austin, or they're from the border, or they're from Houston, or from Dallas, or the Panhandle, or wherever. But there's a particular Texas spirit. Do you feel like that even comes into play in your race? When you're running for something that is not as familiar to people, that there's a race like this going on?
I think the Texas that I grew up in, and especially specifically the city I grew up in, it was I felt growing up, we were notorious for kindness and, neighborliness, and just being, loud, but very, pleasant. But now I think that there are some Republicans, because we used to just have a lot of, I would say, more moderates in Texas in general. And I think a lot of those people are coming back to reality after Trump. And I mean, I I don't know what's going to happen in this next election. But I just feel like Republicans are a lot of them really are waking up. A lot of the people that are consistent voters, they're waking up to the fact that Greg Abbott can't manage our grid for shit. Like, and I mean, and a lot of conservatives voted against him in the primary. Like, he had a lot of primary opponents in he didn't, as much as he tried to appeal to the far right doesn't even like Greg Abbott. So I think if Beto can tamper down some of the hatred against him, I think that we could really get a really good turnout from Democrats and maybe just a lessened turnout from Republicans, and hopefully win this thing
Yeah.
across the
So
board, me, him, and
yeah,
everyone else.
yeah. Linsey, you mentioned that when you decided to run it, it didn't seem like there was a lot of political energy. That there was, folks weren't real energized about 2022 and the election. It that has changed, um, for a variety of reasons. I mean, every day that we get closer, more people are paying attention. But certainly the Dobbs decision, um, Uvalde, now the January 6th commission, the Donald Trump stuff, like just the blatant corruption that we all knew, but now we're learning the specifics about. So it seems like the energy has really shifted,
Absolutely.
and I'm curious, like, how you felt that, and do you think that that's sustainable for the next 90 days, or however many days we're out, 80 some days out now?
Yeah.
Is that something that's sustainable over period the coming period of time between now and November?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the further we go along, it seems like the more and more energy. And as soon as I think that the shit show that is the Republican Party has stopped, handing Democrats just more fuel and,
Yeah,
like anger. I just think that, like, the further, I mean, like, it's just every day. I think, and a lot of people feel like they're so tired of every day being
Mm-hmm.
a absolute dumpster fire. I
hmm,
mean, especially down here in Texas, it is just, I mean, it could not be a worse political environment as far as the division, what's going on the Republican side. And I do think with Uvalde and Roe, I think a lot of women specifically, once again, are realizing, if we don't get out and vote, it's not just, oh, will our taxes go up, or, oh, will, you know,
hmm,
um, y-
Yeah.
whatever other, will the potholes get fixed in our city. I think people are realizing now, if people don't get out and vote, we might not have rights in
Mm-hmm.
hmm,
general. There are Republicans that are talking about interstate travel for women,
hmm,
um, making sure that women aren't pregnant before they travel from state to state. There are people floating out very bizarre
Yeah.
ideas
Very bizarre.
that I think a lot of us always said, of course that's will not happen. But these things are happening. Donald Trump, Donald Trump may have nuclear codes that he's given, or nuclear information that he's
Mm-hmm.
given to other countries. Women, yep. Oh, Roe versus Wade was overturned. Like, these things can happen,
yeah,
and they are happening.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And I think the Republican Party is going to be, is going to have a rude awakening in the changing times that we're in,
yeah,
and the fact that they're just trying to go so far back in the future with
yeah,
our,
yeah.
rights, our country.
Yeah. Now, one of the ways that you've kind of responded to all this, and I imagine some of it is probably, cathartic in some ways. Um, you have kind of taken your rage about the bizarreness of everything that's going on, and coupled that into a way to fund your campaign for county clerk, by coming up with maybe the greatest campaign merch of all time. I don't know. I don't know. Like, what's the digital equivalent of, like, are your ears ringing? Because there was you got mentioned in the Vote Common Good group chat, where we were. Where I said, y'all gotta check out Linsey's merch, and we need to get her making T-shirts for Vote Common Good, because I mean, you've got just the best
Tell us
campaign
about those
merch. So
shirts. What do you see
yeah,
on the shirts? What's
Are
on
you
them?
asking me or Rob?
Well, I don't know either one of you. I haven't seen the shirts yet. What's
Rob,
on it?
you say, which ones are your favorites, Rob?
Uh well, I'm my favorite. I might not be able to say here on the podcast,
Yeah,
but
just pick one.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I guess,
Tell us an appropriate family-friendly one, a Tuesday morning appropriate.
well, that's the best part is that they aren't really family friendly. Um, you know,
I'm glad we're talking about it.
yeah, you've got the the F Greg Abbott shirt.
Mhm.
You know the separate. You got to play on words with separate church and state, with a little statement about reproductive rights, which is super clever. Um, so like you've got things like that happen kind of virally, in your on your Facebook page. You've got like the shit club, because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
one of those posters that one of those trolls called your followers a shit club. And so like you've taken these things and you've like created uh some really hilarious merchandise as a response. Like, is that I notice you're wearing a Corey Bush shirt, who's a friend of both of ours, and we
Yeah.
love. Has how is that kind of taken off? Has that been like, how's that been, in terms of just kind of having some fun with the campaign and coming up with some great merch?
Well, I think right now a lot of people are looking for some like levity in politics, right? Where it's everything is so depressing and overwhelming and so many times just straight up sad. And so
Mhm.
I we actually started the shirt line after. So there was this guy named Jeremy. He wrote me. I had posted about. I don't remember what I had posted about, something about my postpartum depression. And he sent me a message that said, "Nobody likes you or your platform, and the only way people will respond to you is if you're like an emotional little girl or something like that." And then he said, I don't remember what it was, but it was just it was one of the just meanest messages I ever got. And I'm pretty open with the fact that I've now at the tail end of having postpartum depression, but I've been very open about, running for office with, any kind of, mental issues, whether it's anxiety or ADHD or depression. I really just want to make clear to people that, like, even if you have these issues, you absolutely can run. So I've been very honest about what's been going on with me. And so he responded in this really mean way. So then I put his messages up for the world to see, with his name. Usually I will censor somebody's name because I'm like, I most people are not used to people like sending them 200 messages to their inbox. But for him, I was like, I'm gonna make a special case. I'm gonna make a special exception for you, Jeremy. So I put up his name, first name, last name, put up the post with his messages, and then I created a fundraiser that was called F Jeremy, but with the real word. And we raised $7,000 in honor of this troll. And what's so funny is originally when I was running, I was just going to be like, if in my head, I was like, at least I want to put my name on the ballot. I know I have two babies. I'm incredibly busy, but like, I'm just going to put my name on the ballot. And then it was funny because it was like after like Jeremy catapulted my campaign to like a whole nother level, because at that point in the campaign, it's a county clerk race. It was, earlier on. I hadn't raised it, I think I'd raised like, two, three, $4,000. And then Jeremy came along and was the most effective fundraiser we've had. You could consider him like my biggest donor almost. And so then in the middle of him, so after we put up the post about him, he doubled down. And so then he started, talking to all of my supporters that were, expressing like their love and saying, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this while you have, I think at the time my son was maybe 2 months old while you have a baby, and you're dealing with like sleepless nights, and you have this sorry, I'm not going to swear, you have this idiot named Jeremy, and so he was going back and forth, like attacking everybody on my page, who then would just get more mad and donate more money. And then he's like, I'm not scared of you and your little SHIT cult. I'm trying to be
You can say,
appropriate.
you can say it.
I am. I
Shit
just have.
cult.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no filter. I'm so sorry. And so then I was like, so many people were like, I want that t-shirt. And so that's actually when I launched the t-shirts. And what's funny is now the t-shirts, I would say, like, they're probably almost 50% of the funding for my campaign. And so
Fantastic.
it's just so bizarre. And like the t-shirt line and everything, and all of my success came from this horribly mean man that just told me I was a little whiny bitch or something.
Well, Linsey, I'm really sorry that happened to you. I mean, I know you're trying to make light of it. It's also really sad, right? People shouldn't be abused. They shouldn't be called names. We've got to get the vitriol out of our politics. And I'm really sorry for you. And thank you for running, in 2018 in that tough environment. Thanks for running in this one. And I hope you can, I hope all of us can find a way to pursue something better than, people attacking you as you run. Like if we can say that to each other, and if, people on whether you're in their political party or not, I think we can say to each other, hey, we can do this a little better. So thank you for being somebody who's willing to offer yourself, and thanks for being with us today.
Yeah.
No problem. Hey, and I did apologize to Jeremy. So I was at the end. I was nice.
There you go.
And I thanked
Linsey,
him.
where can folks find you online? If they want to follow along, they want to get a t-shirt, they want to join the shit cult.
We're really active on the Facebook page. I'm very interactive, speaking back and forth with people there. Our website's linseyfagan.com, linseyfagan.com. But yeah, the Facebook page is probably the best place to go for any information that you may need.
Awesome. Wow. Thanks for being with us today, Linsey. Good luck on the campaign and everything. We wish everything good happening in Texas for sure.
Yeah, right on.
Thanks, you guys Linsey. So much. Bye.
All right. Wow. Yeah, it just really tells you, doesn't it, Rob? There's just so much happening and going on, and so many difficult situations people find themselves in. It's really, really heartbreaking.
Yeah. Linsey is a candidate for common good. And we are announcing today 40 new candidates for common good. 40. We are just about doubling the number of candidates for common good that we have. And it's pretty exciting. We've got sitting Congress people like Veronica Escobar and Jamie Raskin, from that fantastic television series, the January 6th Commission, candidate for common good.
Star Jamie Raskin, also congressman.
Yep. And candidate for common good. Chantel Brown, Joyce Beatty, Tom Malinowski in New Jersey. We've got sitting Congress people that are candidates for common good. We've got Senate candidates like Charles Booker in Kentucky, who is one of the most exciting candidates in the country, running against Rand Paul. Candidate for common good, Natalie James here in Arkansas, running for Senate. We've got Senate candidates in Idaho and North Dakota. It's pretty exciting. So I encourage folks to go to votecommongood.com, and you can see our candidates for common good. We're going to be posting some of those on social later today, but you can see who those candidates are and check all that out. We're pretty excited, and Linsey Fagan, candidate for common good as well.
That's right.
Yeah,
and even and county clerk commissioners, because, and this is what's important, like a political identity is framed by a lot of things, not just the most famous or not just the most powerful positions that somebody could run for. And what we're trying to do is to help people find the common good and make that their voting criteria. And we want candidates to be committed to the common good. And ideally, Rob, and I know we get some of this. We've got some candidates for common good and wanting to run in Michigan who are Republicans. It would be nice if people across the board would be committed to the common good and let that be another way to organize rather than organizing only by political party. You know what I mean? It's almost like you go onto some website and you want to look for things. I don't know, you're looking for meals or clothes or a guitar like I was doing the other day. And it's as if there's only two categories to click, to sort, right? Like political party and my state. And in political party, there's a bunch of them. Sure, there's a bunch of people that run for political parties, but really two primary ones. But it would be nice if we also said there's another way to sort. There's another way to think about our politics and those who are statedly committed to the common good. Because we're not doing an endorsement. We're not saying we've looked at these candidates and they fit us. They've said we're people that are committed to what you all are committed to, which is the common good. And that's such an interesting and such a better way to think about politics, I think, than just the brand name and the political tribe.
Someone who is not a candidate for common good.
Who's up to no good? Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah, it's up to no good. It's a guy named Donald Trump and his merry band of, we talk about us being a merry band of common do-gooders. His merry band of, do-badders.
Just criminals, just the criminality, Rob. And this is what we last week, we were just hours into finding out that federal agents had to go to Mar-a-Lago to get back property that belongs to the United States government and was going to put the United States government at risk. We just heard that news. Well, since then, and in the last 168 hours, boy, a lot has come about. And a lot is going to continue to come about. But I'm just guessing, boy, last week when you were, leisurely on vacation, you were probably just itching to have somebody to talk to about all this. So it's a really big deal, right? The other things happening with Trump are also a big deal. Giuliani is a target in Georgia, which means Donald Trump is a target in Georgia. Lindsey Graham is being called into all that. The Department of Justice called in another one of Trump's lawyers into a grand jury about the January 6th insurrection or the desire to overturn the election, which means, my reading, the Justice Department is looking at Trump for this. Of course, the Mar-a-Lago, and then the case that some of us thought was going to be a bigger deal than it turns out to be, which is the tax fraud case and the cook in the books up in New York. Isn't apparently going to be criminal charges against Donald Trump, but it is criminal charges against Alan Weisselberg, who was his money person. And the level, Rob, this is what we talked a little bit about last week. So I want to harp on it. People can just go back and watch that video or listen to that thing. The level to which we have to put up with nonsense in this country because of Donald Trump is just frankly irritating to me. I shouldn't have to be having arguments with friends of mine whether Donald Trump declassified documents, because you know what, we have had, in my lifetime, 7 other presidents. Never once did we have to have this conversation. Why are we having to have it now? I mean, I'm not trying to be the school teacher that sort of lectures people when they're, well, how come none of the other students seem to have this problem? But really, Republicans, why don't we seem to have this problem with any other presidents? What is it about this guy where his criminality just seems to have no bounds?
Yeah.
It is, there's this great passage, Rob, in the book of Romans where the Apostle Paul says,
in the good book,
where the Apostle Paul saith, they do evil unto other evil. In fact, they invent ways of doing evil. And it's kind of this idea that like some people's misdeeds just have no bounds. And Donald Trump can't, there was this book that came out by one of the anti-Trumpers that just said everything Trump touches, he breaks everything.
Dies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dies.
Everything Trump touches dies. This is the part of it. We can talk about the specifics of the criminality, which we probably should, and what we've learned recently, and about how dangerous it is, because people should remember this stuff, because the fire hose of confusion that's going to come from the Trump people and from the Republicans that choose to rally around him causes people confusion. But in all honesty, when are Republicans going to say, whatever it is you think you liked about the guy, his deregulation, is all that stuff, you get it with any other candidate. Just pick one. They would all give it to you. Why do you want this crazy? Because if you think what Donald Trump is doing is exposing the deep state, well, I got a question for you. How come we haven't seen any exposing of the deep state? If what Donald Trump came in to do was to reveal all the evil that's being done by the deep state, why is it that all that's happened is Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Michael, what was Trump's lawyer's name? Michael Cohen. Why have all these people pled guilty or been convicted of crimes during Trump's administration? He didn't expose a Democrat. He didn't put Hillary Clinton in jail, did he?
Yeah.
No, you know who went to jail? The people working for him. So all this like deep state nonsense, and Biden is, using the Justice Department. It's just so unbelievable. At some point, the cult just has to break, and it just seems to be running deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's so many like fascinating trails to go down. We didn't even talk about Alex Jones and that. I mean, and it's going to be really interesting to see what was in Alex Jones's texts and emails that have now been requested by the January 6th Commission. And the prosecuting attorney in Texas, or maybe it was the lawyer for the family, I can't remember which, is going to be able to turn those over to the January 6th Commission. We're finally getting some window. Now, Doug, there's two things that are kind of lingering questions. One is, your position has always been that we don't put ex-presidents in jail.
Yep.
We're not going to have like that. That's just not who we are. It's not what we do. We're not going to get a Donald Trump perp walk in the orange jumpsuit.
Yeah.
So in light of what's happened in the last week, has either your personal position on that changed, or do you think we will get a criminal prosecution of Donald Trump? And if we do you still think that that's not necessarily a good thing?
I have long held that we have to do two things. You have to pursue the law, and criminals need to be prosecuted. And we're not going to put former presidents in jail. I still think that's the case. There are a lot of consequences that can come from a criminal conviction. And often sentencing is something that gets negotiated, or plea bargains are made, or deals are struck. So we're going to, once again, Donald Trump has put this country in a terrible situation where his criminality is something that all the rest of us now have to deal with. So the system's going to have to do something it doesn't want to do. It shouldn't have to do something that just has no need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to mean that Donald Trump is going to be convicted. I think he's going to be charged. He could be charged with a number of issues. I think he's going to be charged. And I think we then have to find a way where he's not inmate number, 1,187 or 11,187. Like, he can't, that will just damage this country in a way that the legal system has to think about. Every law that's passed is passed with the best interest of the country at heart. Every prosecutor, every sentence has to be done for those purposes. So does that mean that some people will receive less consequence or penalty for the same crime? It does. And so the idea that it's equal justice under the law, yes, but every punishment is not the same. We all know this, right? Somebody can be convicted of a crime and then they can work with the government to have their sentence reduced.
Yeah.
This is what I think is going to happen. I don't think I've ever wanted to say, and I may have, that I don't think Trump should be prosecuted. I think Trump can't be imprisoned, and that is, I just think that's a line that this country won't allow to be crossed, and in his self-interest and the country's betterment, I think some kind of a deal would be struck on any of these issues.
Yeah. So then the other big question is, we keep looking for and waiting for the thing that will cause Republicans to wake up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this is gonna this will be the thing. They're fine. This will be the thing. I mean, we've said that so many times. I'm at the point now where I personally don't think there is a thing that will
That's right.
snap the Trump supporters out of it. What's your take on that at this point? Is this the thing that finally, you know, wrests the control of the Republican Party away from Donald Trump?
I don't think we're going to ever reach a point where 60-70% of Republicans have turned on Donald Trump. I think it's just baked in, built in. It doesn't matter. The fan base for almost any criminal, celebrity criminal, is not going to move for them no matter what they hear, right? So I don't think you're going to see a 60 or 70% swing. I think you might see a 5 or 10% swing, though. I think the fact that Donald Trump only has 57 or 58% of Republicans that think he should be the nominee. Can you imagine if Barack Obama had lost the election to Mitt Romney, how many Democrats would have been saying, yes, we think Barack Obama should run again? I don't think it would have been 57% of the Democrats, right? So his numbers are weakening, but that doesn't mean that people are going to turn on them, because it's not really how the political mind, I think, of a mass of people works and operates. He's already tested the boundaries. He knew this back in 2016 when he stood at a Christian college in Iowa and said, my support among you people is so strong, I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and not lose any supporters. He has known it for a long, long time. So whatever it was that cemented that, it is cemented. But he lost support in 2020. That's why he lost the election. He's lost support since 2020. It's a different question than when will the Republican Party totally repudiate the guy and totally walk away from him? Because as it turns out, they're not going to, as long as he has control of the money, and he still has control of the fundraising, both psychology, because he raises more money than anybody else, and actually his organization controls the money for the RNC. That's why they have hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's what I think. I think people are personally moving away, and I think that's how that's going to.
What about elected? Yeah. What about elected leaders? I mean, goodness, the political mood has certainly changed. That there was a sense that Republicans were going to clean up big in the midterms, and now that is not necessarily the case. The Democrats seem to have the momentum, and so many of the reasons why can be pegged directly to Donald Trump. Even the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade, was possible because of the people that Donald Trump nominated to the Supreme Court. If Republicans lose in the midterms, and if Republicans lose big in the midterms in a history shifting way, because I mean, you look at inflation, you look at historical trends, you look at all this stuff, and you say, okay, it, Republicans should win big in the midterms. If they lose big, does that get tagged on Donald Trump? Is he to blame for that? And does that really squash his future political identity?
So, yeah, I mean, this is the genius of the House of Representatives structure that, we have hundreds of them that are up for reelection every 2 years. And the idea is that your member of the House is supposed to be close to the population. The people get to have a referendum on them and they're voting every 2 years, where two senators represent the entire state. So a much larger group. It's only every 6 years. It's more of a deliberative body. The president is then elected on a 4-year cycle and obviously has very little, has the most disparate of constituency. But the House is designed to be a rapid change kind of situation. But because of the way we've structured the districts, turnover at the House of Representatives is not as robust as it should be. So even when you get a 40-point or a 40-seat swing, which is huge, like happened in 2018, and 25-seat swing back to Republicans that happened in 2020. Don't forget, like when Donald Trump lost the election, Republicans picked up seats, which tells you people were more committed to the Republican Party than they were to Donald Trump. Or it tells you that what happens in certain districts is particular and not matching what's happening at a national level. So the thing that I think is hard, and I think that a lot of political prognosticators don't get exactly right and should get better, is that they seem to think that what's happening at the House level in politics is just directly correlated to what's happening at the national level. And you've raised this issue a lot, that like the popularity of Congress and the House of Representatives is like single digits, right? 10 or 8 or 20, 12%.
And the re-election rate is in the 90s.
Yeah, and that's because when you ask people, what do you think of Congress? They tell you a bunch of bums, throw them out. And what do you think of your congressperson? They're like, oh, I'm actually going to vote for him again. Right? Because that's the difference, is that what's happening at the national political level is not always the same as what's happening at the smaller level. All that to say, we think around here, 26 seats are actually up for grabs. Maybe it's going to be 20, maybe it's going to be 32, but somewhere in that number of all the seats that are and again, every House of Representative seats is up every 2 years. So they're all up all the time. That's one of the things that drives the funding necessity in Congress, is that they're having to run elections constantly. Yep. And so of all that are up, it's only a handful. Well, a couple of big hands, a group handfuls that are up for grabs. So could you see a swing where Republicans would say, wow, we lost those seats. I didn't think we were going to lose those close seats, the ones in Michigan and in Texas and in, maybe even one in Nebraska. Didn't think we were going to lose those. But overall, we won hundreds of races. So we're going to stick with Trump. So that's the thing. I don't think any number would move people away from Trump, because he lost 40 seats in 2018 and people were just like, well, that's fine. We'll stick with him, and probably believe he actually even won those. So I don't, if you're somebody that is working inside the Republican superstructure, I think you're just thinking 70% of our people like Trump. We'll just stick with the guy, because they don't care. And this is the thing that is like, it's not as if these are people that are saying, and even all the good ones, right? Name our good ones. Cheney, Kinzinger, the 10 that voted for impeachment. Have any of them really come out and said, I'm just unwilling to be a Republican any longer? I haven't seen one person abandon Republicanism over this. Like said, we tried, we did it all, I'm out. So their commitment to the party in Republicanism is so strong. Their question is only, can we resist Donald Trump? Not should we ever abandon the party. And I think that overall, they're not going to. I think the Trump brand is the Republican brand for another decade.
The foreseeable future.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think they're ever going to move?
I don't know. I could see that they're, one of the things that has been so frustrating has been, we know that Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz and, all of these folks, these Republicans with a national profile, we know they loathe Donald Trump. They can't stand him. But they seem to be scared to death of him. They constantly do his bidding and kowtow to him. And I think a lot of that, as you mentioned, has to do with fundraising and the merging of the Trump campaign with the RNC, and he holds, the purse strings for Republican fundraising at this point, because he has that donor list, which is gold, which is everything in political fundraising. I mean, we have wondered over and over and over again, when are these guys gonna do what Liz Cheney's doing and say something, and I mean, at this point, and Liz Cheney, it's gonna cost her job. She's gonna lose the Republican primary today in Wyoming. If there is a repudiation of Trump at the polls by voters again, that causes Republican leadership to, suffer because Kevin McCarthy thinks he's going to be Speaker of the House. Mitch McConnell thinks he's going to be Majority Leader of the Senate. If those things don't happen and they blame their own personal, disappointment on Donald Trump, I think there's a scenario where you could see political leadership in the Republican Party finally begin to move away from Trump in a meaningful way.
I guess if you couple that with an indictment from the January 6th activities, if you couple that with interference and obstruction of justice in Georgia, if you couple that with an espionage charge and a counterterrorism charge, I mean, at some point, right? And
is that enough?
And I do think it is enough, right? Because, look, the things that I loathe Donald Trump for are also the things for which the dire predictions of what was coming down from the impact of the things he said when he was running in 2016, to the Mueller report, to the New York investigation. Like, these things have not landed on him, showing him to be the criminal that I believe that he is. But I take it that, there's honest people doing this work, and they've concluded rightly, and that our system has held itself, and that Donald Trump is not guilty of those things according to the law, the way that I feel like he is. So you have to take that. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
So you change that, but you change that dynamic. You get a conviction of some kind, or you get the public revelation. Look, if Donald Trump, if they looked at security footage, because what they took at Mar-a-Lago wasn't just documents. And by the way, I wish we had somebody smart on here who could answer this question, because I'm not sure we will be able to answer this question. But couldn't he have just photocopied all of these documents? Like, I get it that the document is like top secret, but he's probably got a photocopier there at Mar-a-Lago where he could roll one into the room where he was. Like, I truly don't understand why it's like, go get that document. Couldn't he take a picture of it with his phone and have the document? So I'm really truly
love
confused
the
about the
scannable app.
idea that the FBI felt it urgent, and they clearly did. So I'm not saying that they're, up to no good. I'm trying to say, what is it they were going after, and what is going on here? Because the idea that somehow now we're safer because these things aren't there. Well, if Donald Trump thought they were so important, he didn't make a copy of them. So I'd love for someone to know, who knows the answer to that one, to be able to answer it. Yeah. But if the thing was, Rob, not just that it was documents they were going after that may or may not have been, duplicated in a duplicator machine, but if they pulled security footage and have security footage of people going into the place where those documents are stored, and they have witnesses, which it seems like, because yesterday's pushback from the Justice Department to not release the subpoena said, we don't want to release the witnesses that we have because they'll be intimidated and less likely to work with us, and our novel investigative tools. So they know things in ways that matter. But if they know that certain people went into that room and looked at those documents, and that some kind of a transaction or experience with those documents happened, that's the kind of thing that could really turn Republicans, I think, against Donald Trump. Like, if Marco Rubio, the self-serving Florida guy, if even McCarthy, the self-serving, California guy, if even Mitch McConnell, the self-serving Kentucky guy, if those people realize that they've tagged themselves to somebody who's committed counterterrorism charge, it's going to be charged with counterterrorism, they'll leave. Will they leave because it looks bad on them, or because voters don't care for him? I'm not sure. But I think that this Justice Department investigation, FBI investigation, could be the real deal. But who knows? Because I've just I can't go through the Mueller thing again. I can't do it. Like, there's no possible way they go through all of this and not end up with an indictment, and in the end, Bill Barr just says there was nothing there, total exoneration, Trump says, and that's it. And so it's not entirely clear to me yet, but this doesn't look great. And will they appoint a special prosecutor? Like, is that what's going to have to happen to get this out of political spaces? Is that now a special prosecutor is going to be appointed?
Yeah.
And are we talking 3 years of investigations and reports and hearings and appeals
and he could be president again.
Yeah,
when that happens.
Yeah, but my theory on that. Just take it as a Tuesday encouragement. As the sitting president, the guy couldn't win re-election.
Yeah.
The most powerful position for which to run for president. Now, after an insurrection, he's now going to run as a guy, and you think he's going to win?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I just think,
yeah.
I mean, I would love nothing more for that guy to run and have the people say no to him and then have him be convicted of a crime. Okay, real quick, because we got to go. What do you think's going to happen in Wyoming? Do you think Cheney's going to pull it close and still lose? It's going to be close and she's going to win, or she's going to get blown out? What do you think? It's tonight.
I think she's going to lose. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be somewhere between close and blowout. I don't think either of those are going to be able to be. I think it's just going to be. She lost.
Yeah, she's going to lose by 12 to 15 points. So I don't think it's going to be 20, but I don't think she's going to get close.
And frankly, it's sad, and because the reason she is losing is because she stood up to Donald Trump through her work on the January 6th commission.
Yeah, because Republicans don't want to vote for her anymore. It's really. Yeah. Maybe she shouldn't have voted for Trump in 2020. Hey, what do you think about Alaska? Anything there? You think Sarah Palin's the going to ultimately be the winner of it? Which apparently we're not going to know for 2 weeks, because they do ranked choice voting up there like we do in Minnesota, and then they have to bring in absentee ballots and run a statistical system over all of them and sort of figure out who wins. Do you think it's going to be Palin?
Probably, but I'm rooting for Santa Claus. There's a
Right.
There's a strong progressive Bernie Sanders type of Democrat running, whose name is Santa Claus.
He's running as Santa Claus, which just tells you something about the beauty of, Alaska
Oh,
politics.
it feels like the California gubernatorial race when after the recall back when Schwarzenegger won.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like everyone and their brother was running for governor.
I mean, truly, in the fall, you could end up with Liz Cheney out, Sarah Palin in, Dr. Oz as a senator, and Herschel Walker as a senator. Like, this is where this thing has gone, is that Dr. Oz, Herschel Walker, and Sarah Palin.
Yeah, and anybody who hasn't seen it yet, I urge you to head over to the hellscape that is Twitter, and watch the Dr. Oz Wegner's video, and then tweet at me thanking me because it is amazing.
For those who want to keep their eyes, hearts, and minds clean, is it somewhere else? Is it on
I'm sure
YouTube or Facebook or a
I'm
website?
I'm sure it has been
the hellscape
it has
only.
been shared around. But yeah, watch Dr. Oz complaining about the price of food at what he calls a Wegner's grocery store.
Oh, is this an old video? Because I feel like he did this before. He was walking through the produce section, and he looked like he had been up all night. And he's like talking about the vegetables, and there's another. He did it again. He did another grocery store run.
Yeah, and where he's gonna pick up some vegetables for his wife to make a crudité.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I feel like this is
literally had to Google what crudité meant.
Okay, I think this is an old bet. Maybe it's not. I feel like I saw this because there were two of them. One where he's outside, where he's putting gas in his car, and he was talking about the price of gas, and then he was in there shopping for his wife to make this crudité. So, but maybe it's a new one again. Well, he's not doing well. And look, I mean, the upside, I know I've said it's possible that it's Palin and it's Oz and it's Herschel Walker. It's also quite possible that the Democratic senator in Georgia is reelected, that there's a flip of a Senate seat in Pennsylvania from Republican Toomey over to Federer. And it's quite possible that Sarah Palin isn't even the most popular Republican in Alaska. So those things are all actually more probable than not. That's what I think is probably going to happen.
Well, listen, I need to get running.
Okay, buddy. Hey, see ya. And thanks to all of you. We will be back with a little faith talk tomorrow. So thanks for being a part of the podcast, and we'll catch you on the flip side, as they say. I can't find the finish button. Really?
We're still here.